Yes, good afternoon. My name's Annette, and I am with Barbados Welcome Stamp, and I'm talking with Peter Thompson today. Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon, Annette. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, Peter, I'm very pleased to be here with you, and we're going to talk a little bit about your company and who you are, and how it's all come about. And we're going to have this interview in three stages here, because we're going to find out a little bit about yourself, and we're going to find out about Barbados Welcome Stamp and how we're going to move this forward in the future. So let's get started. So, Peter, we had a little discussion beforehand, but tell us a little bit about how the whole concept, how the whole concept of you and your company in relation to Barbados Welcome Stamp.
Well, thanks, Annette. It was really a lot of luck. It started back in April of this year when we were in lockdown in Barbados because of COVID, like most of the rest of the world. And I was in a discussion with a well-respected tourism expert who expected the tourism industry to recover quite quickly. And my expertise is as a management consultant, and I didn't think there would be a quick recovery. And so he asked me what, as a country, as an industry, we should do about that. And I took the question seriously. And so I began to think and use my professional skills, and I made a blog post that we should invent a new type of visa that allowed people to come and work remotely at their existing jobs, but do it from Barbados.
Yeah, that's
And,
really that's really
and
interesting, because what we're talking about here is a concept.
mhm,
As a result of the corona and being in lockdown, we're talking in terms of this was just an idea at the
yeah.
time.
And so my blog post kind of went viral in a moderate way. And then I wrote, and one of the people who wrote to me about it was a very distant acquaintance who happens to be well connected to the Barbados government. And he said to put my ideas into a memo of 2 pages or less, and he would make sure that the right people in the ministry had their eyes on it. And I
Hmm.
didn't expect much to happen because government doesn't usually work very quickly. And so when 8 weeks later, Prime Minister Mia Motley announced the Barbados Welcome Stamp, I was utterly delighted. This is almost revolutionary for a government to act so entrepreneurially.
Mm.
And so I have started my business, which is Remote Work Barbados, because, of course, getting a visa is only step one of many. There are so many things that you need to organize if you're going to leave your circle of friends and your wherever you're living and come and move around the world to have a lovely new life here in Barbados.
Yes, I'd like you to expand a little bit more, because you are the CEO of Remote Work, aren't you? And
Um,
let's explain to us what your company is and what it's about.
The company is Remote Work Barbados, and it is at remoteworkbarbados.com. And so, what it is that it aims to find Barbadians who can solve every problem that someone who is moving to Barbados to work remotely is likely to encounter.
Hmm.
And so I started it in September, and it is going really, really well. And it's evolving really, really quickly because, of course, I thought I knew exactly what people would need. And sometimes I did. But what happens, of course, is that I have to learn as quickly as people bump into new problems that I didn't anticipate. I have to learn who and how can solve those problems for them.
Yes, can you give us some ideas or some example of problems which may come up, which you are actually working to solve? Or, I mean, you had mentioned to me something about people who come to Barbados may bring their pets or things like that.
Yes, I didn't expect that. I mean, I have pets, I have 3 cats. It just didn't occur to me that if I were going to move for an entire year, I'd have to figure out how to move my cats too. And believe me, moving to Barbados as a human being is incomparably easier than moving to Barbados as a cat. and so we had to find experts, veterinary experts, customs experts who really knew how to solve all these problems. And I did find them. And so now I am able to lead people along a well-trodden path so they don't bump into any roadblocks, because for pets, the process has to start many months before you actually take them on a plane, because of all the medical requirements that different departments of agriculture insist upon.
And is there any other sort of frequently asked questions or situations which are coming up on a regular basis, which
some
you
of
are
them,
working with?
Yes, I mean, some of them I did anticipate, of course, because of course people need a place to live and they need to know how to get around Barbados, whether it's how to deal with the taxis or the public transit system or renting a car while not getting ripped off because you don't know who to ask and how much to pay. And so those I was prepared for mostly, but some of the wrinkles I wasn't. I anticipated, being more like Airbnb. But people very quickly told me that while they're very comfortable with renting an apartment for a couple of weeks without having seen it like they do on Airbnb, that doesn't work for them at all if they're going to be in the place for a whole year. And so I had to completely re-engineer the way that I went about finding people appropriate places to live. And I do it by working with other people in the tourism industry, outside the tourism industry. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I just find the right people. And so I work with 4 of the best real estate companies in Barbados and almost a dozen of top car rental companies. And we figure out how to get the job done in the best interest of the client.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we had spoken about is the reason that people are coming to Barbados is that they're able to use the technology. They can use the computer, the Wi-Fi and the hi-fi. And how does that impact on what you do in terms of, say, like people are wanting to know what sort of speed rates and rental agreements would they have to have with computer contracts? Or
yes, we are lucky in Barbados that we have 2 good broadband providers that compete with each other, and so the prices are competitive. One of the wrinkles I've had to work out is that some of the properties have been accustomed to saying they have Wi-Fi, and they do have Wi-Fi, but it isn't up to the standard that people working need Wi-Fi. And so when they're just catering to people on holiday, of course it works for sending photos back to grandmother and the occasional Skype call. But when you have a building full of people who are all on Zoom at the same time, and they're all doing critical presentations, you need another level of capacity and reliability. Thankfully, the properties have listened and are listening, and they quickly upgrade their systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if somebody is on the beach, would they have coverage at all? I mean, that's
If they are in front of many of the beachfront properties, yes, they make sure that their Wi-Fi extends right down to the tanning chairs. But it does depend on, because of course that's not public Wi-Fi. That's just, you have to be their guest to log on to it, or you have to be renting an apartment there to log on to it.
Yeah.
Public Wi-Fi is sometimes available, but is not nearly as good. I mean, it's certainly good enough for email and many other, and browsing the web. But for many professional uses, you need a higher quality and higher capacity. And there are some things that are quite quirky that I hadn't anticipated. In Barbados, we have, at night, there are little tree frogs that sing this melodious tweet, and it's a beautiful sound. But if your work is in a different time zone, and at night here is right in the middle of your working day in the remote time zone, then everybody is asking you, what is that noise? And so we had to find technical ways of blocking that background noise, and we did.
Absolutely, that's very, very interesting, because as you say, sometimes you don't need that background noise. As a presenter, I'm always aware of my environment and my surroundings as well when I'm actually working. So yes, that's a really interesting point. But I'm going to bring it back to your company, because as you say, your company is there for people to have questions or who have situations which they're not sure of and can actually work with you. I mean, one of the things which is really interesting is that people may have issues around banking and insurance and things like that. Can they come to your company to get some sort of support?
Not, of course, that I can start a bank, which works, right?
No.
But the thing is that, of course, financial technology in Europe and North America has gone far, far beyond banking. There's Venmo and dozens of other types of applications which are not banks, which people are accustomed to using for moving money from one place to another. A lot of those things don't work in Barbados. PayPal works, and PayPal works reliably, but most of the others don't. And so I have to let people know which ones work from where their bank is. And mostly I've learned this through trial and error of people who have, other of my clients who have tried different solutions. And so insurance has been much easier. There are good insurance companies that are quite adept at dealing with the specific issues of digital nomads and remote workers. And some of them are very, very reasonably priced, because they are companies that don't have the traditional overheads of large established insurance companies. They simply operate online and then reinsure the risk with the large established insurance companies like Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem we've been able to solve very happily. But new problems arise every day.
Yeah.
One of the most important things about having a really productive, happy experience wherever you are is, of course, being comfortable and having a circle, a social circle.
Yeah.
In COVID times, this is more important than ever. And so I have learned that helping people to build their social circle is of enormous importance.
Yes, because
And
people who are coming to Barbados don't necessarily want to just be sitting in on their own. You know, it's about
exactly,
socializing and interacting with the local people or people around them, and they do need to develop that. So you can actually you can actually help them to signpost them into places.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's through interest groups in the whole, whether it's horseback riding or scuba diving or hiking or playing cards or Monopoly or knitting, or if you have kids between this age and that age, there's all sorts of ways that we connect people to those who have some sort of common interests, both locals and other remote workers.
Mhm.
And so I'm finding that's actually one of the most rewarding parts of running this company, because I'm making new connections every day with fabulous people and making new friendships myself every day. And
Mhm.
that's a lot of fun.
That's lovely, because the Badian people are very warm people, very sociable people. Yeah, that comes out loud and clear, you know,
Yeah.
with what goes on, you know, and that's part of the wonderful experience of coming to Barbados as well. But one of the questions which springs into my mind as well is that I'm actually based in the UK in Edinburgh here, but if I was in Barbados and say like my laptop broke down or something like that, can I order from Amazon or something and get it shipped into Barbados? Get things in and out to service myself?
Yes, and I'm smiling simply because my wife's laptop broke a couple of days ago, and now she has a new one.
Yes.
And there are a couple of ways. First of all, there are good, reliable computer distributors in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get most things from in Barbados stock. If it's not in stock in Barbados, you can order it from Amazon. And there are ways of making sure that Amazon doesn't charge you more than the item costs in shipping costs. And usually it involves getting, there are companies in Barbados which provide Miami addresses, and then Amazon will ship for free to Miami, and then they will economically ship it to Barbados,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll pay the shipping after it gets to Barbados and the applicable taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Import duties can be very steep in Barbados, but the government is working, and within a very short while will have facilities in place so that welcome stamp visitors do not have to pay the import duties. At the moment, import duties on computers are 0%. So computers are never a problem. But import duties on other things can range up to 30 or even 40%, which makes it very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So it would be good to have an import duty exemption for welcome
Yes.
stamp visitors.
So actually, there's two things here. It's actually getting things shipped into Barbados, and moving things and moving things backwards and forwards, because things will break down, things will happen, you know. And it's nice to be able to know that there's somebody who can either service what you need or can actually provide a way round that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So the one of the things I'd like to move on to is broaden it out a little bit more and actually say to you, what is the impact of with your organization, your company, the remote work? What are, through setting this up, what are you looking for in the future in terms of expanding your business?
Well, the context of my business is that remote work is incredibly important to Barbados. It is, because we are such a tourism dependent economy, and because pandemics have such a devastating effect on tourism, my main motivation in starting the company was to have a positive effect on economic development. It's much more about building the sector as opposed to simply building my company for my own reasons. And so that's why I have this passion about collaborating with everybody, because I think that way we all win. What I hope my business achieves is to help build a solid, sustainable population of people working remotely from Barbados. I am particularly interested in people in the technology industries. And that's because the technology industries are the foundation of the 21st century economy. And in order for Barbados to prosper in the 21st century economy, we need to master the technology industries. We have a lot of very educated and clever people, but everybody knows that it's not just what you know, it's who you know. It is your network, in addition to your skills, which allows you to prosper as an individual and as a business. So bringing in remote workers who are in the technology industries enables Barbadians to build that network. Their education at UE and elsewhere have already built them the skills, but becoming friends, just chatting, just having a banks with somebody else who has parallel technological skills to yours, and you can talk shop with them or her. This is what we need in Barbados to build our networks globally. It's already starting to work. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, in a Barbados tech WhatsApp group, there's a woman who is working with a very promising insurance technology startup globally, but she's working in Barbados. And because she's on the inside, she posted long before it's public knowledge a job opportunity at her startup. And she posted it to the WhatsApp group where lots of local tech people hang out as well. So this is what we need. We need this 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, so in some respects, you're providing from people coming here, you're providing again another workforce within Barbados, which can actually help and support everybody else. Because with your company, Peter, it feels like a one-stop shop where you can actually help and support people. But who are you trying to attract into your business?
Well, I'm learning more about that every day, of course, because what I'm doing is learning from all the people who are coming. And At the beginning, they're younger people. Now, mind you, I'm 64, so a lot of the world looks like younger people to me. They're people in their 30s, often early 30s. And this shouldn't have surprised me because these are people who can most easily, very quickly change where they live because they not necessarily have a large family already with children in schools and so on. But there are a bunch of families moving as well. And so that's very gratifying. One thing which I didn't anticipate but should have is that a lot of young women are moving. And they have, of course, particular concerns. They're concerned about personal security and safety. They're concerned about, they often have very deep and rich social lives. And so they want to be sure that they're not going to be lonely. And they may not want to live alone in a studio apartment. And so we are understanding that we need to help them make connections with other people even long before they get to Barbados, so that a group of them might arrive all from different places all over the world, but converge on Barbados and build a life here together.
Yeah. So one of the things which is coming out loud and clear is that you're a listening company. You want to hear where people's, I will use this loosely, what their pains are or what they need. And you will listen to what they have, what they would need to adapt and to be supported in Barbados.
That's very,
where you're coming
very
from?
accurate. And to be sure, this does not always play to my strengths. I have to learn to listen. Well, men often do. And so I have found myself a board who are all much younger than I am. I have found myself people with specific skills that I lack. I have people on my board who are PhD level HR specialists, because of course, when I'm inviting people to work from here, then HR is really the business I'm in, providing an environment where they actually get the work done that they came to do and have the life that they plan to have while doing that work. And so, yes, I'm learning at a tremendous rate, but that's what life is about, learning it.
Yes, it's this lovely collaboration.
Yes.
You're in Barbados, you're actually collaborating with the people who are working and living in Barbados, as well as supporting, because this is what it's about with the Barbados welcome stamp, you're supporting people who want to come to Barbados.
Absolutely.
So is there, tell us your company details and how people can get in contact with you and from there.
Well, remoteworkbarbados.com, all one word, Remote Work Barbados. And you can find it very easily. We're also on, of course, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but I'm in the middle of finding young people who can teach me much more than I already know about Instagram, particularly. Us old people, we know Facebook okay. But Instagram, yes. I'm getting Instagram experts on board. And
but that's all right. I have a couple here in the UK who can work digitally and provide you with something like that. So that's not.
And then there is such a range of information on the website, and it grows every day. And so you can find out about Barbados culture, Barbados cuisine, Barbados sporting life. I have yet to write the nightlife page because I'm not in that scene much myself. So I have to find somebody who can write the authoritative guide. to Barbados nightlife. Then all of the mundane things that you have to deal with kids' education and making social connections and getting a place to live and understanding how to get around, understanding the basics of driving in Barbados. For people from the UK, it's not so much because we drive on the same side of the road as you do. But for Americans, we need to make sure that they do it safely.
Right. Well, we've just been joined with the lovely Sarah.
Hi,
And from Barbados Welcoming Stamp. And I'm sure one of the things I was going to say to you, to you, Peter, is that on the Barbados Welcoming Stamp Facebook page, we have lots of questions which come up. And so if you need to sort of look onto the page and see some of the actual the questions which are coming up, then it will be of use to do that. And so this is where I'm going to hand over to Sarah, because she's from the Barbados Welcoming Stamp and she is in touch with the people on the page and may have some questions. So can I hand you over to Sarah now?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
Thanks very much for being on with us today. I'm kind of jumping on here. I have a few questions for you regarding some of the things that you've been talking about, as well as with the people who are actually coming in to work remotely into Barbados. I am just a very short background. I am actually originally from the U.S., married to a Barbadian, and have been here for 28 years. So I am an actual citizen of the country as well as an expat. But there are people with some concerns, not completely unfounded. We all believe that this is a great initiative, that it will help Barbados, and we assume that beyond COVID, this is something that will be good for the island. But just on the first question, I guess, was noticing on your website that you do have information regarding visas, short-term visas, information to immigration. Have you actually had anybody question regarding, once they come to Barbados, what might be the possibility of staying in Barbados?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Once they get here, they very quickly start to think, well, how can I make this a long-term gig? Not only are there those questions, but there are some answers. All of the answers are not yet in place and in policy, but there is policy direction in the intending to create a roadmap to permanent residency. We don't have that roadmap yet, but people in policy making say that they are working on creating such a roadmap. We do have an existing way, which is, of course, geared to very high net worth individuals.
Right.
I am in discussions with Invest Barbados, which is the government agency that deals mostly with the high net worth individuals. And they have said to me that they do see that there should be a bridge. There shouldn't be this gap between welcome stamp visitors and the programs for high net worth individuals. There should be some sort of intermediate category, step, what have you.
Right.
I also get a lot of inquiry about buying property.
Yes.
In Barbados. And one of my real estate partners I work with is Ron Karp, and he does guide people toward local financial institutions that will extend mortgage loans to expatriates. In addition, I also have connection to a company in the in the concierge business who will extend foreign sourced mortgage loans for Barbadian property to expatriates. And so I guide people toward those authorities to answer their questions when they are seriously considering buying property.
Okay. I think part of in asking that question might actually come with a bit of concern for a Barbadian. We're very happy that people are here. We also know that there are businesses in Barbados that will begin looking at people who may have a different skill set. As you rightly said earlier, Barbadians are very well skilled and quite knowledgeable about many, many things. But there is a concern regarding those welcome stamp people who are coming in. They know they must work remotely. But I have seen people who simply ask questions. How do I move to Barbados? How do I will just say it. For example, my partner and I are moving to Barbados, and we are looking to start a business. They want information on that. From my end of things, I know that that's fine and that can work. There are steps in which someone not in Barbados can move here, start a business, but technically they cannot work here. They cannot work their own business because the business then has to provide a work permit.
Yes.
Those are the questions. Once you begin to get those, if you understand
I get them very, very frequently, and I refer them to the legislation which established the welcome stamp, which says explicitly, you may only work at the job which is not in Barbados that you said you were going to when you applied for the welcome stamp. You can't come here and then decide to do something else. And if you don't have the right thing on your application, you're not going to get the welcome stamp in the first place, of course.
Right.
And when people ask me about investing in a business here, and I say yes, but you cannot be employed by it.
That's right.
There is no employment in Barbados. Now, there's a gray area about starting a business here. It's gray in my perception because, of course, that business can be then competing, often perhaps unfairly, with local business.
Yeah.
And that is something that is a potential weakness of the program, because if we destroy the Barbadian acceptance of the Barbados welcome stamp, then we are one step closer to destroying the welcome stamp itself.
Right.
And so there are a bunch of things which, I mean, nothing is perfect, nothing is risk-free, but we have to have our eyes wide open. There are risks in people establishing competing businesses. I counsel, when I'm talking to people that matter, that we should only allow them to do this when the clients of the business that they're starting are non-Barbadians. They're starting a business to get money from Swiss clients and English clients and American clients. Yes, we should cheer them on. If they are starting a business to compete with Barbadian business, then we have to be much, much, much more careful. The other aspect that we have to be very careful, both in terms of rentals and property purchases, is inflation in the Barbadian property market. Barbados already has expensive property. We must monitor this very carefully so that we do not provoke price inflation, or if we do, we take steps to moderate what we are doing so that we do not disadvantage Barbadian renters and Barbadian buyers.
One of the things I will, as you speak, I'm remembering and knowing these questions. When somebody has posted on the Welcome Stamp group or any of the other expat groups that have cropped up, they will traditionally or specifically state, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom house in this area, and I'm willing, or a 1-bedroom, whatever, I'm willing to pay $2,500. I'm willing to pay $3,000, and it's US. Is that what they're looking for? And we did this on our first broadcast. We understand that the person renting has to rent it fully, so furnished and that type of thing. But what happens to the Barbadian who is looking for similar property, who can't pay that? And suddenly you have landlords and people who are going, oh, well, I can get much more, so I'm never going to rent to you.
That is already happening.
Yes.
It already happened in my case. I just moved house from St. Philip to St. James. Mm-hmm. And one place I was about to put in an offer on, unfurnished, was withdrawn from the market the day I put the offer in. The landlord said, well, he's decided to furnish it. So we know exactly why he's decided to furnish it.
Yeah. Right.
I found another nice place. I'm okay. But you are absolutely correct. This is something we need to monitor. This is not a risk-free program. We need to have our eyes wide open and take steps in policy to manage the risks.
One of the things I will ask in the initiative, it does state that the person applying must put in, you just said that they have to say what type of work they're doing. They also, there's a minimum income, so 50,000 US is a minimum income, but we're being told publicly by people who are here that it's never checked. It kind of doesn't make sense if you have said you need to have this type of income, but you're not being checked. You could say, I work for Amazon and I'm making $50,000 a year because nobody's going to check me.
Yes. That is, as it's currently organized, a risk. I mean, the team of people at the Barbados Immigration Department who are doing the processing of applications, I've got to say they're doing a marvelously good job. But as the program matures, it will have to mature in a way which does more of this checking. And the way the legislation is written, we can check after the fact. If we come upon people who are here and we think something is wrong, we can then ask them, well, you said you were going to. Okay, now it's time to prove it.
Right.
And if they can't, the minister can, with a stroke of the pen, with no refund on the fee, terminate their welcome stamp.
Right, thank you, Peter. I think you've taken quite a few questions, and we've put you under the spotlight for quite a long time now. So I'm going to say thank you very much again. You've actually been amazing, and I think you've answered a lot of questions. And if anyone has more questions, Sarah, how can they get in touch with us? Sarah?
For us, as we can be reached on our Facebook group, Barbados Welcome Stamp. People can private message any one of us, I guess, but they can ask questions on the group. that's really how best we can be contacted.
Yes, and which is how I found out about you guys. And so I do interact on the group wherever I think I can be helpful, and I'm really happy to see people like Sarah and a whole bunch of other people actually providing good, solid, reliable information to people asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so people can get in touch with me by my Facebook page at Remote Work Barbados, by my website at remoteworkbarbados.com, and by email at peter@remoteworkbarbados.com.
Okay, and thank you very much. And thank you very much, everybody who's been listening to us again on this Facebook live feed. So thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Annette. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay.